on iCode Media. I want to share today some thoughts on things that I've been ruminating about. I went a couple weeks ago to a shooting course with my good buddy Matt. I've had Matt on the podcast previously. In fact, we talked so long we turned our 2 hour conversation into 2 different episodes. It's a fantastic conversation. I'll link those in the show notes. But I went to a shooting course, and the reason I like to shoot is because I'm bad at golf. In fact, I've broken more property with errant golf balls, and I think I've hurt more people with errant golf balls than I ever have shooting. Haven't broken anything or hurt anybody doing that. But I love the technical aspect of shooting. Similar to golf, right? There's form, there's function, there's how you strike the ball, there's lots of calculations involved. So for me, that's what shooting is. Anyway, I was at the shooting class with Matt, and at the beginning of the class, he has designed a drill that he calls the now drill. And the now drill means now because we're going to do it right now. And it's designed to see how well you do cold. So no athlete will ever go onto a sports field or court without warming up. No singer will ever do a performance without warming up. But in the world of shooting, should somebody break into your house late at night, there's not necessarily a chance to warm up. And so the idea is not that we're preparing for worst case scenario, but to just see how well you do what your skills are without warming up. I think it's an important drill. I think it's an important drill not just for shooting, but for any activity to see how you perform at a given task, cold, if you will. So the now drill is designed to do at the beginning of class and really kind of give you a benchmark as to where you are so that you know what to work on and focus on. And in the class, we do it one at a time because it's timed. And this particular now drill, we were using pistols. So we were shooting 15 rounds into a 10-inch target at about 7 meters, and then doing a magazine change and shooting 2 more rounds. So it brings in a lot of different aspects of shooting. It's easier to shoot just one perfect shot, or to shoot a bunch without having accuracy involved. When there's lots of moving pieces, there's lots of chances for mechanics and fundamentals to break down. All right, all that set up is to tell you that when it was my turn to shoot and to do my now drill, I had a fairly decent grouping, meaning that all my shots were in one area, but they were outside the target. I wasn't hitting the target. And my buddy Matt yells at me in the middle of the drill and says, "Aaron, stop looking at the target, look at your front sight." And as soon as I looked at the front sight, my grouping moved over to the target where it needed to be. Sounds a little bit counterintuitive because if you are shooting at something, you want to be looking at what you're shooting at. But if we relate this back to golf, when I'm hitting a golf ball, I'm not staring at the fairway where I'm trying to hit my drive, or I'm not staring at the pin where I'm trying to put it in. I'm looking at the ball, or at least I should be, which is probably one of the reasons why I'm not a good golfer, because I stop looking at the ball. In baseball, when you're trying to hit a pitch, right, you need to look at the ball. I remember my little league coaches telling me to watch the bat hit the ball, follow it all the way in. Similar for shooting, right? Our focus should be on the front sight and the pistol. So when I took my focus off of that and put the focus on the target, my outcome wasn't what I wanted it to be. And it took Matt, who's one of the best instructors and teachers just in general I've ever known, to know exactly what to say at the time and immediately correct my outcome by helping me refocus on the process. Matt was also there with another incredible shooter. His name's Jamie, and Jamie broke down this idea of not focusing on the target or the outcome, but focusing on the process to get the desired result that you want. And ever since then, a couple weeks ago, I've been thinking about this in the back of my mind and how this relates to everything that I do in my life, and how much I'm focusing on outcomes versus how much I'm focusing on processes. And at first, it I struggled with this concept because I quite frankly thought that the process didn't matter as much as the outcome. Right? The outcome is I want to lose 15 pounds. Doesn't matter how I lose 15 pounds. The outcome is I want to hit a certain revenue target goal for the business, whether it's for a day or a month. Right? Doesn't matter how we do it. Doesn't matter if we sell a bunch of glasses or sell a bunch of contacts or do a bunch of see a bunch of patients and services. Right? The outcome is what mattered. Doesn't matter what my kids get for dinner as long as they get dinner. All right? So everybody's fed and happy. Um, and I think internally my challenge was that if I focused on the process, the idea of the outcome um, would get missed. We would stop focusing, or I would stop focusing on the outcome and dedicate too much attention to the process. And so I might not end up where I would want to end up. The outcome might change. Or I would um, be able to say, or my team or individuals would be able to say that, hey, I did my best, right? The outcome didn't happen because I did my best and I was just focusing on the process, and that's all that matters. Well, the outcome is incredibly important. It matters. Outcome matters a great deal. And what I realized, and hopefully y'all are way ahead of me on this, and this is just an Aaron was slow to catch up thing, but what I realized is that you need both. Right? You need to know where your outcome is. You need to know what your desired outcome is. You need to be clear about what your desired outcome is, whether it's hitting a revenue goal in the practice, whether it's losing 15 pounds, getting healthier, pair of pants fitting a little bit better. In my case, on the Now drill with Matt at my course, it was putting 17 shots in a 10-round target at 7 meters. Whatever it is, the outcome needs to be clear. But once the outcome needs to be clear, then the focus needs to be on the process to get that clear outcome. And in the case of shooting, the focus needed to be on, for me, needed to be on focusing on my front sight. Everything else in my shooting was sound. The rest of my fundamentals and basics were sound. It was just my focus. If it's the office, perhaps it's not focusing on a desired revenue outcome, but it's focusing on the experience that we're trying to provide a patient, or the efficiencies that we're trying to create in the practice so that a patient can have the experience that we want. They can move through all the different steps or places within the practice and put them in a more likely position to be happy, so they are ready to accept treatments, whether it's glasses or contacts or coming back for medical treatment, whatever the case may be. Wanting to lose 10 pounds, 15 pounds, right? Once I have that clear goal, the process focus should be on getting my shoes and clothes ready so that when I wake up at 5:30, 6 in the morning, I'm more likely to get out of bed and start working out, or focusing on the process. What workout am I going to do ahead of time? In the case of working out, I don't like just trying to wing it and figure out what to do. My house is a big Peloton house. We've got the bike, we've got the treadmill. We like the workout apps. And my wife and my daughter can just day of scroll through, find a workout and say, hey, I want to do this workout. I struggle with that. It's too much pressure. I want to have a plan, to know what I'm going into. And if I'm going to be part of a workout, I like somebody telling me what to do. So I like the at least week-long, sometimes month-long plans, because it just tells me what I'm going to do every day. It's one less thing I can think about, but I can focus on the activity that day. Right? So focusing on the process. We talked a little bit about this at a recent book club. And during the book club, I even mentioned that we don't have goals for the office this year. I usually have a number of exams goal, a revenue goal, different types of goals that we put out for the year, and then we extrapolate that to a monthly goal. This year, my goal is to build our systems. And I believe firmly that once we refine our systems and put better systems in place, systems that are less dependent on individual people and more holistic, so that any given person can jump into that system and operate accordingly. I believe once we get those into place, then monetary goals or the number of exam goals, those are going to improve on their own. I think part of the challenge that we had looking in hindsight was we were so focused on meeting the goals that we neglected the process. Or we tried to spot fix things or change one thing. We would scapegoat perhaps or find a certain flaw in the process to be the whipping boy, if you will, right? We weren't getting enough IPLs done because we weren't doing XYZ, right? And so we were manipulating everything we could, trying to change the outcome instead of focusing on the process. So that's our goal this year, is to not have a goal, but to really focus on the process. Very similar to my shooting course on not focusing on the outcome, but refocusing on the process. And that makes a lot of sense. You go where you focus, and you knowing what to look at, even as simple as where you put your eyes, can help direct an activity, can help direct the process to get you to the desired outcome. So I'm not an expert in this field, but if I were to break this down, I think step one is being very clear on what your outcome is. Right? What do I want to get out of this? At least this is how I'm attacking it, right? What is my desired outcome? And once I'm clear on the desired outcome, I can then refocus on the process to get to that desired outcome. And certainly I'll need to check in periodically to make sure that I'm on course. But I think keeping my eyes up and looking super far away, assuming the outcome is far away, right? An annual goal. If we're in January, February, that's a long ways away. Focusing on what's right in front of us, focusing on the steps, the form, making sure that we're doing everything right now is important. I don't like spending too much time looking in hindsight, but I do think it's important to look back and say, hey, now that I've completed this process, this phase, maybe in golf, once I've completed the shot, can I go back and reassess myself? In shooting, once I've completed this round of fire, can I go back and reassess, what I did good, what I need to work on, what I need to improve on? At the office, I've talked about winning the day, right? Setting goals for that day and targets for that day, and then looking in hindsight and saying, how did we do yesterday? What could we have done better? What did we do good that we want to repeat? I think that's all part of the process that gets us to the end goal. And I almost believe that the end goal should be a bit of a surprise initially, right? Wow, I'm here, right? I did everything right, and we ended up where we needed to be, not unexpectedly, but I think, we've arrived kind of, shouldn't be something that is this, I keep saying focus, shouldn't be something that is very planned, right? We're so focused on the process and doing all the individual steps right, that we shouldn't be surprised we got to the goal. Maybe we're surprised when we get to the goal. And maybe that the satisfaction isn't necessarily the end goal that we achieved or the target that we achieved, but it's in doing all the steps right, or doing the majority of the steps right leading up to that end goal, and having that joy in the journey of trying to get there. I hope that makes sense. Like I said, it's something that's been bouncing around in my head for quite a bit. I believe that I was too focused often on the end goal and the outcome and not the process. And so for me, this is hopefully growth, hopefully opportunities for me to help myself get better, my teams get better, by understanding what our end goal is, what our desired outcome is, but then really going back and redefining the process. I've been doing a lot of work with Comprehensive Optometry Simplified. I appreciate Chris and Kyle and the work they've put into that. We are going back in our office and rebuilding a pillar for every single thing that we do. Right now, Google Docs, Google Drive is our go-to to have living documents that are searchable, that the team has access to, that they can make suggestions to and modify. This isn't a manual process, but it's a guide. and it's a guide that should be uh, pretty well followed to and adhered to by all team members in the office, from doctors all the way down is the idea. So that if we see, for example, a new comprehensive exam and the patient has elevated pressures and maybe a suspect optic nerve, right? We know what the next steps are. We know when we're going to treat day of versus telling the patient, hey, we need to bring you back. There's some things we need to look at. When that patient does come back for further evaluation and management, the entire team knows why they're back. They know what tests that we're most likely going to be running. When we do start treatment, we know what treatment we're going to be putting them on and why, and if it's a special order, what pharmacy it's going to come from, so that everybody is on the same page, and it just makes life a whole lot easier. By the way, we demand this of our refractive surgeons. There's nothing worse than working with a surgery center of excellent surgeons, but they all have different pre and post-op desires. They use different medications. Those medications may have slightly different schedules. It's a lot to keep track of. So things are super easy when it's standardized. There's always an opportunity to change when the case needs changing, but the majority of cases don't. And so that's the goal within the office, is really refine that process, challenge what we're doing now. Challenge that just because we did it last year a certain way doesn't mean it's the right way to do it this year. How are we incorporating virtual assistants? How are we automating different things? How are we eliminating things that we didn't need to do, but really understanding the process that's going to get us the desired outcome instead of just focusing on the desired outcome. Would love to hear your thoughts. Would love to know what you've done in this area, and if you've got any insights or challenges on things that I've shared today. I'm on a journey to be better. You're on a journey to be better. Let's help each other out. So until next time, thank you very much, and we'll talk soon.